Hi guys, it's Blackie.
Yeah, Bear.
And this is Old Wayz number 15.
15.
Okay, after the last one where we were talking about check boxes and stuff, I think it's the third one we're talking about check boxes, I had so many people contact me and ask to see one of mine. So, here's what's going to happen. This is actually a conflagration of where I had my check box all well organized for several years, and then about a year ago I pulled a bunch of stuff out of it for doing videos and stuff and hadn't reconstituted it. So I just brought the pile out here and we're going to reconstitute it right quick. And then Bear's going to have some stuff we're going to share too about a little project he's working on. So let's start out. First off, what I'm using for my chuck box, you can build a box or you can just simply have some sort of transport tote or whatever works for you, okay? For me, because I learned from a lot of these old guys, I started out with an ammo crate. Now let me turn this down off of us more onto it just a little bit, okay? And this is just simply boards that are nailed together to form a wooden box. Got the handles on it. The vets are going to recognize these immediately. This one's had its lid removed, okay? But like my old friend Francis McGowan, this is what he utilizes for his personal chuck box. It would have his Dutch oven, his little Coleman stove, his skillet, paper plates, spices, oils, all that stuff in here. Now once he gets to his destination, he would unload it and he would stand it up like this. And he would then transfer stuff in here. This top is where he had taken an aluminum cookie sheet and just drill 4 shallow screws in it and put 4 little, Phillips head screws up here in the top. Bump, 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 and that made a clean cutting surface. So I could get up here and mix things, or I could get up here and cut things onto that. When it got dirty, you just clean it off. And when the old aluminum just got too threadbare, you could unscrew it, flip it upside down, re-screw it, get a second run out of it. And they were like $1.50 or something at the dollar store, so they were cheap, easily used. So I kind of adopted a lot of that philosophy. There we go. Now my box, I painted a bright color, so there was no doubt in camp whose box this was. And then up here on the top, I stenciled the letters Blackie's Cook said up there. So again, there was no doubt whose box this was.
It's Mrs. Blackie's box.
Yeah, it was my box. But it's got the standard flash. Now, with the lid coming up, what I would do is when I got there, I would unload. And then I would open it up and set it out. Now these chains are a little stretched right now. I need to pull them up where this will be a flat surface. Let me turn the camera down just a little bit more yet so you can see it even better. Okay. Here is my work mix station right here. And to facilitate that, instead of doing the aluminum, which I could have, and I could put aluminum up here on the top, and I thought about doing that, I went and got these flexible cutting sheets. You can pick these up at your Walmart or whatever, and it's just a flexible piece of thin plastic for use as a cutting sheet. That rides inside, and that would come out here for something I could mix on, cut on, etc. Now, what goes in here will constitute the various things. I'd have my spices and stuff like that, and my knives and stuff would go up here on the side. I have a container I don't have with me that locks onto the side that would take my knives on one side and my serving forks, spoons, and everything else on the other, so I could just grab it. Now if it's going to be inclement weather or whatever and this is not going to be covered up, it'd be very easy for me to close the lid up, latch it, and then just throw something over the top of it like a tarp or whatever to protect it, or just pick it up and move it back under the tarp. So that way I don't have to worry about it. Okay? Now, let me show the components of this and what's going to constitute it. Okay, go there. Set that one up there. I'm going to move y'all in a little bit closer for a more in-depth look at the gear. Okay, the 2 Dutch ovens that I use for this kit are these, and you can tell they've been used. I'm going to have soot all over me. This is a standard 8-inch Dutch oven, and this is actually like a 7.5 deep Dutch oven. Okay? Now, the lids of the Dutch ovens, since they're cast iron, can be turned upside down in the coals and used like a little griddle, actually cooking on this convex place. It's great for cracking an egg on there and making omelets, stuff like that, and it's well seasoned so nothing sticks. But it's a way I could use just the lid. Then the main body of it is a big stew pot. Now, since it's got little legs on it, it means I can actually sit it in the coals, and I can actually bake in this, I can bake bread in this, I can boil in this, I can stew in this, etc. And it's got a hanging bell where I could hang it over a fire if I'm running a fire and actively cook, or even I've taken this and put aluminum foil around the lid seam and buried this whole thing. Dig a hole in the ground, build a big old bed of coals up, put my meat and etc. in here that I'm going to do like a big stew or a roast or something. Put the aluminum foil across the top, go sit it down into the hot coals, bank the coals all the way around it, and then bank dirt over the whole thing so it's buried. And then we go fish for 8 or 9 hours. Whenever we get back, we dig it out. The aluminum foil keeps the dirt from getting into it, and when you take it out and you open it up, it's done. So it's a slow cooker that way. Now the other one, which is a standard 8 Dutch, is really my most used one because I'm mostly cooking for me. The top is an 8-inch skillet across, so I can fry in it the same way, or I can do eggs, whatever, even toast on it. I've heated this up in the cold before and just throw the bread on it, a little bit of butter in the bread, and made toast on it. And then you got the actual Dutch oven to bake in, cook in, etc. So I've got multiple uses for this, and this will ride inside of this box. So it comes in and goes to one side, just like that. Now, I want to be able to fry stuff, and so I got some choices in that. This is a Lodge, needing cleaning, a Lodge cast iron skillet with a handle. That handle slides off, so, and it's silicone, so it can take being around the fire and etc. But I can also easily just slide that off if I'm putting it next to a real hot fire. This acts like a big griddle. I can fry in it, whatever. It's a little heavy, but it will go in there. But to be honest, it's turned upside down there. Oh, it was right side up. It was upside down before, excuse me. There you go. My favorite one is this old antique cool handle skillet. Now you've seen in a lot of my videos I use a little small, like a 8-inch on it. This is the 10-inch. But it weighs nearly nothing. And I carry a plastic bag that I can then slide it into. And then that will come in from the side like that, and the handle will lay down in the corner. And it's going to make a pocket back here behind it. We're going to get that, but I still got room in front of it. Next, I carry a super cheap little tablecloth so that whenever I get there and I've got maybe a picnic table or whatever I'm going to be utilizing this on, I can also pull this out and have a clean place to have my food, etc. to eat. So it's a little optimum dining. And that will wad up tight and go in the corner over here between the Dutch oven and the corner, so it's out of the way. Now, we're going to come into plates and discussion on that a minute. I usually carry, this is an old pewter plate I used in my rendezvous days. Pewter sucks in the winter when you put your food on it because it sucks all the heat out of the food. On the other hand, it's very handy whenever you heat it up. So I could take and put it on the grate for just a couple minutes before I put my food on it and heat the plate up and help keep my food warm while I'm eating in the winter. So that can be a distinct advantage. Another big advantage to that is whenever I'm carrying paper plates, I can set a paper plate on it and have something that I can hold and know that plate ain't gonna collapse, okay? I can put hot food in it, and that plate ain't gonna bend. This acts as a support vessel to guide it, okay? And paper plates are absolutely easy to carry, and they don't weigh nothing. Plus, I can throw them in the fire when I'm done. Easy cleanup. So, they come right in here in front, and then usually the paper plate are going to go either on top of the Dutch oven or they're going to hook into the side. Usually I just put them here on top. We'll get to that in a minute. That got to lean, but we'll come out in a minute. Now, another great thing is just a standard U.S. Army mess kit, because it's got all my spoons, knife, accoutrements in it for eating utensils. Just like this was designed to do for a chow hall, I can take it and go over that loop and bring her down like that and have a plate system where I can take my thumb, get right there. And I can put my main meat and food and all up in here and have divided up vegetables down here and be able to, especially if you don't have a table and you just got to just sit and hold it, this is a handy way to eat. That's why the U.S. military went to this. So it's a handy way to do it. And with that hanging on there, it's not going to fall off, okay? Plus, when cleanup time comes, it's easy to go just dunk and submerge the whole thing, just like the military did to clean it. Okay? And then, of course, your eating utensils, etc. I went and cheated. I took my actual U.S. Army issue and sharpened the sucker, so it's a little bit sharp, so it will cut steak and stuff like that a little bit better. Got that old trick from a good friend of mine who was in the Navy. He carried one of them, so just in case of eating. There was something I was going to add into there. Oh, yeah. A little bitty spatula. Right there. Now,
You can also improvise this as a frying pan.
exactly. This can be a standalone cooking set as well as being the eating utensil. And that is an advantage itself, because it gives me many options where I don't want to use that big skillet. I can use something small for a heat and eat, where I'm just going to dump a can of chili in here, heat it up, eat it, and be done. Or, as you guys know, I love to do boiling bag stuff. I can take my quart Ziploc bag after I pull it out of the hot water and sit it down inside of this to be able to hold it and eat it without having it tip over or something. It's easy.
This is also stainless steel, and you can bake in it.
Yeah.
You can put your biscuits, down the sides, put the lid on top of it, and you can bake in the thing. During World War I, in the old style World War I mess kits, part of the training on how to use the thing was to learn how to bake in it.
Mm-hmm. So them guys knew how to do stuff, and it works over today. It's still very usable in that. All right, now bring that out, put that on top, right there, and then turn that upside down right there. Now, let's go a little bit more in the sets, and here we get to two different mindsets. I have this kind right here, and then I have this kind right here. Now this is a single burner Coleman stove. Okay? This one's a single type burner. I would want to carry this whenever I'm cooking long and slow, because I can fill this tank up, fire it up. This is also great in the winter whenever I don't want to take the time to build a fire. I need something hot in me to warm me up now. I can fire this up in a matter of seconds and be cooking breakfast quickly. In fact, I can just have this set up near me where I can, if I'm on ground pounding, I can just roll out of my blankets, fire this up, put the coffee pot on it, and roll back in my blankets and sit there and watch it staying warm while it's coming up to temp. See? So that has a distinct advantage. It's about the right size, it's about the right usage. Now along that line, let's that lid back. Now along that same line, but not going with the Coleman, going with the Trangia, I got this thing. What this is a Chinese knockoff of a Model 25 Trangia. It has a strap that holds the whole thing together. And what you get is you get a, I'm just going to leave that hooked on there, but you get a top skillet with a handle that'll lock onto it. So now this is a shallow skillet. Okay? You have a Trangia that I burn alcohol in with a simmer ring so I can adjust for temperature. Okay? And I did a video when I first got this set, and it ran like 45 minutes on that thing full up. You take the wind base, you turn it upside down, and that's where your stove is going to sit. And then you have this ring that fits to it. Now mine was too loose when I first got it. You won't be able to squeeze it down on it and it stays. So you just got a little rim around there. You got to just tap it in a little bit to make it fit a little snugger, and that way I could pick it up. It's not going to tip off of here. And then you have two big pots that either one of them will fit in there. Now, again, you guys know I do a lot of immersion heating. So I can fill this up with water and take a quart Ziploc freezer bag and take and dump whatever I'm wanting to eat, you know, chicken a la king, you know, whatever, you know, and squeeze the air out of it and sit it in the water and let it come to a boil. Therefore, I've got hot meat. And then just take it out, sit it in here, open it up, and eat it straight out of it. When I'm done, get rid of the bag. The pot's nest and the frying pan acts as a lid for both of the other pots. So that's a quick and handy, and this is burning alcohol. So if I'm wanting to run an alcohol stove, this is less bulky than the Coleman and better for the quick heats where I want to just heat up in 5 minutes, and I'm going to run a clean camp. So I'm using water and immersion. I can fill this up, put my food in, heat it up, and whenever I get done, lift this out, snuff out the fire, leave the water in here and leave it just sitting there. And when I get ready for my next meal, I've got water again. I just put the bag in and fire it up again. So I can keep that same water and reheat for several meals out of it, as well as having hot water to clean up with and to make coffee or whatever with. But it makes for a quick and easy setup. So you put the big bowl down, put the small bowl in it, you put the windscreen in it, you turn the base upside down, you drop in the Trangia, put that over the top, excuse me, you put your tool in there for grabbing it, like that, grab it, turn it upside down, run strap through the holes, now I know some of you are going to say, Blackie, where'd you get that? I found it online off of Amazon, and the search I did was Chinese knockoff of Trangia. That's exactly what I put in for the search, and this thing popped up, and it was like 39 bucks for this. Now, if you get the actual Trangia set, those Trangia sets are going to run you about $100 because they're much higher quality. This is thin aluminum, but what its big advantage is being able to heat up quickly and etc. And I'm used mostly for immersion heating with this. Okay, need to stop and catch your phone.
Keep going.
Okay, so that goes down in there. Now I want some coffee cups, and I carry two. One I've rigged up a toggle with. This allows me to push it up under my belt, and I can carry this on my hip. When I'm walking around events or something on cold days and everybody's offering you coffee, I carry my coffee cup with me that way. On the other hand, these are those old Bakelite type stuff, and these are from the old Boy Scout. Whenever I was a Boy Scout leader, they gave these as prizes or awards to us guys, and I got like 6 of them. So just carrying 2 nesting cups makes for a quick, easy, fits in this corner down here. Now, I also like to carry one of these folded cups. This is a cereal bowl to me. Okay, I open this up. It's about the perfect size to put cereal milk in for me to eat for a breakfast. Quick and easy. These are called a folded cup. Look around online. Sometimes you can find them on Amazon. I picked this one up for surplus like $2. So for a while there, they were very common. Again, it wedges into a corner somewhere. Now, dish soap. A P51 can opener. a small thing that's got garlic powder in this side and black pepper in the other. And a small thing of salt. I can also add other spices depending on whatever I need. And these will come down here and drop into the hole, just like that. And the soap I'm going to put in the back corner back here, so it'll wedge it and keep it upright. The coffee cups is where the can opener goes. I carry a small trowel. This is so I can dig out around my fire pit, stuff like that. It'll just slide in. This is also real handy, guys, when you need to dig that little cat trench, take care of your nature's call. This rides in here. An old medicine bottle full of matches and striker for a fire set to go with this. Plastic forks and spoons. A meat fork that's got a nice big wide thing so I can spear it. A lot of times I'll carry a squirrel cooker with me in addition to this, depending on what I'm carrying. Slide it in back behind the skillet. Just like that. Now any kind of other, and it will depend, I just brought in a selection. Take that folding cookie cutting board, slide it in just like that. And then any kind of selection that I need of a spatula, a big serving spoon, etc. If you go down to the Dollar Tree or whatever, a lot of times you'll find these sets of the bamboo serving spoons and stuff, cheap, easy, usable, and you can get rid of them if you don't need them. They go in here, just like that. Big old serving spoon and a big old spatula on the side, just like that. And of course, I carry a bottle that I put cooking oil into. You don't have to use this, you can use the factory one. But these hip flasks and glass are normally just about bulletproof, short of slamming it on the deck and hold up well. And I found over the years these have been really good for carrying cooking oil in it. That up right there. Now I still, as you can see, got space in that chest. Right there. I could add whatever else I need to add in there to put into this large open space. A towel is very handy. Paper towels are very handy, etc. Now, some sort of scruffy for cleaning pots and things, very handy. A lot of times these will be riding inside that Dutch oven. I didn't put it in there, but just for that. And some sort of hot hand, which I normally have a rag or a shamag or something for grabbing handles, will go along with it. Now this will handle 95% of what I'm going to need right there. That's the basic cook kit. Let me back up a little bit. Okay. I'll talk about this. Boy, that glare is going to be bright. Now, in addition, you could add or subtract as the situation warrants it. This is a U.S. Army, commonly called a Ranger set. And I have substituted this in before when I wasn't going to take the Dutch oven, because I may not need it. I'm not planning on doing that. I could get rid of the skillet and streamline down to this. That Trangia set that's in there could be substituted for this because I'm planning on just cooking on a fire. Okay. Now, these came out really in the 1950s, and they got a pair of swinging handles that lock for a stainless steel fry pan. Okay. And then inside you got, let me get to this in a second. You got two pots, one nesting inside the other. They're tough sometimes to get to. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. There we go. little oxidation going on there. But you can see I've used this one a lot. But you got a ring handle on it for the big pot, and then you got a smaller internal pot. Now, why the U.S. Army issued these really was for snow. It was for guys in the field to take that little portable Coleman stove they had in snow conditions in Germany and stuff like that, and be able to melt snow on these and refill canteens. Because snow is real bulky and you don't get as much water as you think you should whenever you melt it down. And so that's what this set was really for. But they call it a Ranger mess kit, but that's what it was for. Now, inside of it, I have a little Coleman set. Now this is one of them old Coleman Peak 1 sets. Has a copper bottom on it, the little bitty fry pan. Now when several of you have noticed when I've got my Pathfinder bush pot, that there is a internal little fry pan that I put inside of mine for various uses. That came from one of these Coleman Peak 1 sets. Okay, it's got butterfly handles just like that, and it is the right diameter to drop down inside of a Pathfinder bush pot, which could then be turned upside down to be a false bottom to bake in that bush pot, as well as bringing it out and having a little fry pan, saucepan, whatever. Little pepper shaker that has better. Little bitty cup, little bigger cup, even bigger cup, and then the bigger boiler that's got the locking bale handle on it. Again, you can tell I've used these a lot over the years as a cook set, and these are just a great little one-person cook set. The Peak 1s I liked. Good thick stainless steel, so it holds heat well, it cooks well. And then the various components nest back into each other just like that to become that Peak 1 set. And then I figured out this would drop into the Ranger set. So that gave me even more of a set to utilize in the field. So that is a lot of pots and pans to carry in the field like that. In that one set. There's a bunch of eating utensils, pots, etc. in that. And so that's what I can substitute into the set. Go ahead.
There's a lot of latitude in this set also if you have unexpected guests show up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, campers that you knew were going to be in the area with you, but not with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the camp followers that we talk about from time to time.
Camp dogs.
Yeah, camp dogs.
That if you're a good cook and they smell it and they're suddenly real friendly and want to cuddle up to your fire, yeah.
This is the emergency camp dog set.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of camp dogs that need that type of stuff too. But that was my basic idea of it. Now, it needs to be flexible. I have the basic set, but as you saw, I have a bigger Dutch. Suppose I'm going to be doing stews or something, or I'm planning on doing squirrel and rice for several people. Well, this is a better choice for me to take in here because I can take a bigger quantity in a single serving. Yeah, the Ranger pot is the same size, but trust me, the cast iron Dutch is a much better cooking vessel. Okay, so I'm going to stay with it.
Even though this is stainless steel and comes highly recommended by the Hat of Wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
that Dutch oven really is the better option.
It really is. And so a 8-inch Dutch oven is really the best choice for me for 1 or 2 people. It's the perfect size for cooking a single meal. It's great for baking cobblers and breads and things like that. That heavier Lodge skillet, if we're going to be doing a lot of fish frying, then this, I mean, this thing's probably, what, 3 pounds. That sucker right there to stop bullets, you know. But that on that Coleman would be great for frying fish because of the mass of it. It does not lose heat. The Dutch oven, nice and hot, holds the heat for the oil, so I can, if I'm deep frying, that's a better choice. You just got to look at what your options are and mix and match.
This would be a good deep fryer as well, this,
Yeah.
just because of the depth that's involved. That's, let me see, get my hands where you can see them.
Yeah,
We're talking that deep.
yeah, about 6, 8 inches
Yeah.
deep.
For safety's sake, that
Yeah.
would be a good option.
And to be honest, when I first saw that little bitty thing, and I forget where I picked it up, me and my wife were doing it, and it's a little smaller than 8 inches across, about a 7 inch, but it's so deep. And I saw that and my mind immediately went to deep fryer. Oh, baby. And so being able to get oil at the right temp, and now when you put cold food in it, it draws the temperature down. And I know a lot of you don't do a great deal of cooking, so let me just give you this. A heavy pot holds heat by itself, okay? The oil is holding heat, so I put a cold piece of chicken in it, let's say. That's gonna lower the temperature down. How good the oil and the pot is at holding heat is how far down that temperature drops. And then the temperature comes back up after a moment as it heats up the chicken you put in there. But I'm wanting to cook 5 or 6 pieces at a time. Well, I've got to have a big, thick thermal mass, and I got to keep my fire hot. I'm really using the chicken to bring the temperature of the oil down to keep the oil from burning. So I get it up there, and just as that oil gets hot, if you start to see these first wisps of smoke coming off the oil, that's when you put your chicken in. That's going to bring it, but keep it in the cooking temperature range, right? Meat put into hot oil, the heat is so massive it causes it to steam. The water within the meat starts being forced out by steam pressure, so it does not absorb the oil, but it cooks quickly. And then I keep an eye on it as it's rolling. When it gets the right consistency and doneness, I pull it out. I'm constantly substituting in and out, see? And then when I get to that last bunch, I'm gonna pull it kind of out of the fire a little bit, because I know that when that temperature comes up, the oil would go too hot. I don't want to burn the oil and burn the taste. But that's how you end up with chicken or whatever that's not greasy, because the heat generated steam pressure, and that's trying to force out of the meat. So it's kind of steaming it as well, so it's tender because it's steamed on the inside and it's deep fried on the outside, and that's the good stuff.
Back when we did the video where we were talking about aluminum cookware versus stainless steel cookware, this is exactly what we were talking about. Because once this cast iron holds heat much better than does your average aluminum. Okay, and like he was saying, as you add pieces to it, it's going to bring the temperature of the oil down, but there's that range of temperature will be maintained by this much easier than will an aluminum. And cooking next to a fire with grease, there's always a chance of a flame off, and it catching fire. This is what we were talking about.
That's what you snap it out with.
This is what we were talking about was the heavy lid. There's no air getting in there, and fire feeds off of air. And just as soon as you get it on and you can see through the smoke screen, get it off the fire.
Yeah, because you went too hot.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience.
Most definitely a learning experience. And this is the guy that can teach you.
All right, so this has been the basic cook set. Now, the companion piece to this is this box. Notice I painted a nice bright green and put on the top of it, Blackie's Chuck box. Now what's in here is all my dry goods. Get a little closer and see it. In here is all like my instant oatmeals, chili, I got hash browns, I got cocoa, I've got all kinds. I think I got a canned ham down in here, dry goods, can of chili, MRE, etc. This is all the dry goods. Now I pack it in here for the reason that when this, which has a really good seal up here in the top, when you put it on there and you lock it down, ain't no bugs or nothing getting into this thing. Just like that. That's solid. Now it's still a thing, I can actually sit on this thing. No bugs are gonna get in it. It's waterproof. I can leave it sitting out by the fire or next to my cooking area and don't have to worry about things getting wet, bugs getting in it or whatever.
You could drive your deuce and a half across that.
Yeah, you can back your truck into it. This is gonna protect it. So these two work together. That's my cook box, my kitchen. This is the chuck box. This is all the food.
Chuck is another name for food.
Yeah, chuck is another name for the food. And so working these two together, when I get there, I can actually take this box and put it on top of that box, or vice versa. If I've got a situation where I don't have a good place to set up my actual cook box, I can set it on top of this box. The red box is not waterproof, but the stuff in there is cooking pots and pans. So if it gets a little wet, no big deal. But this is the food box, and therefore it is dry. And so with these two working in tandem with each other, I've got a great one-person system so that I can set this up in the kitchen at the house to have all the dry stuff ready to go. Lock it in, bang. When I get out there, I know exactly what I got in here. The same thing with this red box. I know what I've got, and I can mix and match by what's in here. So if I'm gonna need a big skillet, because we're doing pancakes, I can put in the skillet. I've got a skillet in there. How about I'm not toting anything that's gonna require that Coleman stove? Well, then I can tote the Trangia. You know, for a quick in the morning, I just want to heat up, or we're out here to do scouting or whatever. I'm not going to be doing a lot of time hanging around the fire cooking.
No.
And so that Trangia is great for me to bring it out, fire it up, and then pull the can of whatever out of here, the instant mix or whatever, the instant chili out of here, and in that cook it right quick. It's multi-layers. You got to dial your cook set into what your food is. Don't be toting a bunch of stuff you don't need. All right, let me sit this down. We'll move the camera around. We'll talk a little bit. Okay, now, so that is my current cook box, now that I've reconstituted it, and my current chuck box. That's what I carry for me and maybe one other person. Of course, if I'm gonna gear up because I'm taking the wife and there's a bunch of things and it's a several day event, it will expand. But this is the core, that's a quick grab. Now, Bear has got a little project he wants to share with you.
Well, first things first. The gentleman from Michigan.
Chris Hall.
This past weekend, Blackie had a sort of an informal camp at the Geneva State Forest. And super nice guy from Michigan, came all the way down from Michigan, gifted me with this chain worth of this carabiner with a survival kit on it. And I just wanted to publicly thank him for this. It means a lot. There's a fire starter, there's tinder, there's a flashlight, P38 and a whistle. And it has ridden with me every day since he gave it to me. And I just wanted to thank him on camera.
And the granddaughter has found the whistle.
Yes, she has.
And she loves the whistle on there.
Absolutely. Now, project number 2. As y'all know, we have been talking about the very plentiful beautyberry.
And I will insert a picture right here for those who don't understand. This is what American beautyberry looks like when it's got berries and all on it. Right here. Okay?
Now, you can make a drink out of it. You can make, this is not beautyberry punch, by the way. And I made an attempt to make syrup out of it. And I got it just a little too watery, but it makes a delicious, trying to make jelly. And I got it just a little too watery, but it makes a very delicious syrup. As a matter of fact, you can see where my kids and grandkids hit it this weekend with waffles. But I brought some for Blackie to taste on camera.
The color of it looks a lot like cherry. like a red cherry or something like that. The smell of it is kind of like, got a sweet smell. That's the only way I can do it. Ain't nothing to compare it to that. That's good. When you initially taste it, it's got a slightly odd, not bad, but just slightly odd. And then like 1-2, it turns into kind of a raspberry flavor.
Yes.
And if you blindfolded me and gave me this, I'd say it's some sort of really tart raspberry. That's good.
It finishes off with a citrus, like an orange juice note at the end of it.
That'd be really good on French toast.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I sent you a full jar to
That's when I'm going to be destroying that, I can tell.
I knew that Mrs. Blackie might let you have it on one serving of French toast.
Yeah.
But anyway, we kid her a lot, but we love her.
We love her to death now.
I made 4 pint jars of syrup out of 2 scientifically measured red Dixie cups full of beauty berries. And the reason I just had 2 was because I got tired of plucking them off the vine. Straight up honest. When you cut them, I just cut the stalk when I harvest them, and then they'll roll off with your fingers into your pot. Rinse them well. Don't eat them while they're out. Don't do that, because it's like eating a green persimmon. It's not going to be pleasant.
They are technically edible.
Yes.
But not that palatable. It's kind of bitter to us until they're cooked.
Right.
And so yes, in a survival situation, yes, you can eat them right off the thing. It ain't going to be your favorite taste, but it is edible.
Most of what you're going to get out, and the berry's just a little bitty tiny thing. It's not even, you could probably put 3 on the end of a yellow number 2 pencil eraser. I mean, they're that small, and most of that is seed. What I did was I put it, may I borrow your pot as an example? I put the beauty berries in the pot and filled it up with water. And then I poured it through a strainer into a larger container, a larger pot. And then I put, let's see, I had probably 4 or 6 cups of berries, and I put about 2 cups of sugar in with them. And then I took my spoon, my ladle, and I kind of crushed them up. Put them on the fire. Put them on the fire and let them simmer. And I had to step away from the stove for a minute. I don't even remember what it was for. But I started smelling a very faint whiff of caramel. And I thought, uh-oh.
Yeah, that sugar doesn't get too dry.
Sugar's getting too hot. So I went back in there and I caught it just in the nick of time, and I put some water in, and that's where I overshot my landing. I put just a little too much water into it. And after it had been cooking for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, maybe a little longer, I took it off the heat, restrained it. And by restraining it, I got all those crushed berries and seeds and stuff out of it, and all I was left with was the syrup. Okay? Put it back into the first pot, which was a little smaller pot. Put it back on the stove and let it reduce. I also put in a full pack of pectin, which is a thickener.
That's the stuff you actually make the jelly. For the guys who don't know, it's called pectin, but it's for making jelly. It's what makes it turn thick.
Yeah. Now, this was thickening up until I hit it with the water. But, like I said, I overshot my landing. And I added a packet of pectin to my syrup. And it got reasonably sloshy,
It's thick.
but not as thick as it should be.
Not as thick as it should be, but it's not pure watery either.
No.
It's a lot like, you know, whenever you make Kool-Aid, not Kool-Aid, Jello, but it hadn't set yet.
Right.
And that's about that thickness right now. And if he had just added a little bit more pectin, I think it would have gelled up. But really, I think this is better for...
Or a little less water.
Yeah, but I mean, that right there is more than edible. I'd enjoy that over stuff like that. And that'd be good as a sweetener to try on some sort of pastries and stuff.
Yeah, it's very doable. It's like we have repeated from episode to episode. This is not hard. You may have to do a little creative engineering here and there. I will be making more of this. I may have to wait till next year to do it, but I will be making more beauty berry jelly.
I can see a project for the grandkids.
Yeah. Yeah, well, my grandson and I went out and we picked the bulk of what I turned into the syrup. And of course, he's all into it for about 5 minutes, and then he's off wandering through the bushes somewhere.
Oh, no. What you do is you do like we did whenever I was little. And it was the kids are assigned this corner of the porch, and you and the other adult go and harvest whatever it is. In this case, harvesting the beauty berry, where you get all those things. And you bring back like a half a pickup truck load. And the little one's job is to take the seeds off of the berries off of the plant and put them into the bucket. And then throw the seed, the stalk over here in this pile. That's all we got to do. And I tell you what, when we get done, everybody's going to Dairy Queen. And the whole time they're doing it, you're talking about, do you want a banana split? You want this? So they're not thinking about what they're doing, they're thinking about the prize. And they sit there in high speed, them youngins will just field strip everything, and you'll have a bucket. Now then you go do that. Now you got your bucket of stuff, come back and you wash it in the bucket. Just fill the bucket full of water and surgitate it and pour the water out 4 or 5 times to get the dust, sand, etc. off of it. And then like you're talking about, I would, if it was me, I'd take a strainer and I'd put cheesecloth in it and pour it through the first time. Then to cook it before you'd run it through the syrup. I've only helped make syrup out of stuff before.
Yeah. The reason I strained it twice, the first time I washed it was to get all the little bits and pieces of flour and bug ankles and things
clean
like
them
that
off.
out of it.
But once you boil it, you bring it to a boil, anything alive in there's dead.
Yeah, just extra protein at that
Extra
point.
protein at that point, yeah.
But I strained it the second time to get all of the berries and the seeds and stuff like that out of it, and get just a syrup to thicken up into the jelly. But it works. I'm real proud of what my grandson and I were able to accomplish.
I think you should be. I mean, that, you know, like I'd heard about it, I don't think I've ever tried it before, but I would definitely eat that.
Yeah.
And definitely take time to learn how to make it.
It's good, and who knows, this time next year there may be a complete video on how to make beauty berry jelly. It's a little late in the season now to be doing it, but you know, there's always 2023.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into the fun stuff like hunting season, and actually now's the time to be out gathering cattails and utilizing them.
Well, now's the time, a lot of the stuff that you would go collect the fall day. Fall things like turnips, collards, stuff like that are coming in. Now's the time to get them if you're going to put them up.
Yes.
Now's the time that you should be going through your deep freezer and getting out the older stuff, because we're going to have deer and hog and stuff coming soon to fill that back up again. And with the things that I'm hearing on various sources talking about during COVID, the cattle industry sold off a lot of its cattle. And so the cattle that was supposed to be coming to market in January is gone. And that's already been butchered. And so they were pointing out that Texas had sold off 50% of their cattle, and New Mexico had sold off 35%, and Oregon had sold off 40-something%, and that's animals that's supposed to be coming up in this spring. That's when they would be coming to market, and they ain't.
Well,
And they're predicting that the price of meat's gonna get high.
yeah, there was some news reports, I don't know, about 2 months ago, where some guy was driving along a highway and found, I think it was 10,000 dead cows. No cause of death that I
Yeah.
can remember, but they were just dead in the middle of the field.
Yeah, kind of suspicious there that we can't feed them, we ain't got no insurance on, but if they drop dead, we can get insurance.
Yeah, but
Strange, it's like every time you see hurricanes come in and everything is devastated, and like a couple hours after the hurricane passes, all these house fires show up. Because you didn't have homeowners insurance, the place is trashed, but you got fire insurance. So that, we're not saying anybody's doing anything illegal there, but
I didn't see any way of that at all.
just coincidence that how is this building, 4 foot deep in water and suddenly it catches on fire with no power?
Yeah.
2 hours after the storm passes. But hey, it's just the way it happens. One other thing before we wrap it up for this one, and Miss Trinity is ding-a-linging me. We got a business thing going on, she's asking something. Cookbooks. The advice I want to give to you guys is this. Look around your thrift shops, stuff like that, and look for old cookbooks, probably from about late 60s, early 70s. Or earlier. But don't go too far back, because if you go back 40s and before, you're going to find that commonly used words are different today than they were back then. And so you're going to find things referenced in cookbooks and things that were common back then, common products. They're not available anymore. But if you stay somewhere in the 50s or 60s, the people back in them days actually cooked. They went to the store and they got raw components and they come home and cooked. They bought Bisquick by the 55-pound bag, because they made muffins and pancakes and cakes and da-da-da out of that. From that, they could just go anywhere. And so I happened to stumble upon this book at a surplus place, and it's got a thing in the beginning of it talking, I believe it was from like 1971. And it's just a collection of older cookbooks, best recipes. Now, these were quite often given out at grocery stores and stuff like that, and that's a nice thick thing. There's tons of recipes in something like this. This book cost me $1, okay?
S&H green stamps used to give them away too.
Yeah, and the thing about it is when the situation gets tough and you can't go to the grocery store, and they simply don't have TV dinners right now. They simply don't have those ready-made meals that we're so commonly used to. Well, people today say they're going to cook, they really mean they're going to microwave it.
Yeah.
It's a pre-made up, it's frozen or whatever. When that stuff dries up, because like everybody else, they're the same boat you are. A lot of times the raw components are going to be sitting there because your average guy don't know how to cook anymore.
There was, I saw a news report recently where I think it was 12 maybe of those plants that make the processed meals.
Distributing centers.
Yeah, the distribution centers and the actual plants that put the components together burned. And that's a red flag.
That it hurts our food and supply. Everybody's already talking about.
Yeah.
The price of fuel makes it much more difficult for them to ship stuff around. They got to add the price, and you know, being able to go buy your favorite English muffins, which A, may not be available, or B, may just become so expensive that you don't want to do it. And yet, sitting right, you know, on this shelf right here is all this flour and baking soda, and here's how to make English muffins from scratch. Something that you could make and freeze and put in the freezer and just bring them out in the morning and pop them into the toaster like usual. You know, if you've got something you really enjoy, I suggest you figure out how to make it.
Before we started shooting this series, we were talking amongst ourselves about people and their reliance on the system. And part of the motivation for doing this entire series has been to remind you that you don't have to be dependent.
No.
That you can be reasonably independent of the system. I was looking through here. I saw a section in this before we started filming. It was breads. I don't seem to be able to find it right now. By the way, they've got a Ranger cookie recipe in here.
Ranger cookie recipe right out of Vietnam.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know what Ranger cookies were in Vietnam, was they would take out of the C rations, and later the MREs, the C rations, they would take the whole package of Domino sugar, they would tear the corner of it, they would take the powdered creamer, trickle it in the hole, shake it up really, really good, and then hold it between two sticks and set it on fire with 2 wraps of toilet paper around it. And that would burn, and there's a foil liner inside that bag, and it would burn, and when it got to the top, done, you let it cool a minute, and you tore it open, and there was a quarter-size sugar cookie. And they call them Ranger cookies.
I can't find it right now.
But
there's probably a recipe for English muffins in here if you dig it out.
it's just whatever you want to do, just figure out how to make it.
Right.
Especially if it's something you got. In my family, every morning breakfast was the same. It was biscuit and something. So it was biscuit and egg, biscuit and sausage,
Right.
biscuit and grits, biscuit and syrup and butter, biscuit and link sausage, biscuit and ham, biscuit and leftover pork chops from last night.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
biscuit and you added.
Right. And the watchwords right now, all over social media, all over the news media, is shortages, gas shortages, food shortages, blah 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 blah.
Higher prices.
Higher prices, whatever. It's coming. You have advanced warning. It's coming.
Now it's time to get some training and figure out what you need to
It's
know.
like we have said before, Noah built the ark before it started raining.
Yep.
And we need you to build your ark now.
Start looking.
Start looking, start
Figure it
sticking
out.
stuff back. My teenagers have gotten on board. They were, before now they thought Dad was a nut. Now they're going, I really kind of understand where you're coming from. And for teenagers to do that, I'm good.
Plus, like I said, find one of these old books like that. Go through and just flip through and go, wait a minute, that sounds pretty good.
Try it.
Try it. If you like it and you did it okay and it's something you would like to do again, copy that recipe into your own book and make little changes that you said. Well, it said to use this, but I prefer to use this. Make those little things. Because when times get hard, that's whenever you come back and say, I need a can of this, a thing of this, and a thing of that, and I can make the rest of it.
Right. How many times have you heard us say, do you?
Do you.
Do you. Don't do me. Don't do like you. Do you.
Do what you do and what you like. And if a good friend of mine, Grouch, he talked about when he was teaching his Boy Scouts. They took the Boy Scout cooking manual and those super simple recipes in there. And he said, we cooked every one of them. Every night we cooked one for dinner. went through the entire book, and then we rated it of what we liked and what we didn't like.
Right.
So that when he went to teach his scouts, he knew what he already was good at. And so those were the recipes that he taught the scouts to cook, and also let them try the other ones. And this one over here that's really too time consuming, or this is a little too complicated, this requires too much expensive ingredients. Those got pushed to the back of the list. And so he went through, he said, but I could honestly say, I've tried every one of these recipes. Sometimes we liked it, sometimes it was adequate, and sometimes the dog ate good that night.
Yeah. When we were both scouters, it was back around the time of the 100th anniversary of BSA,
Yeah.
and they reprinted the original 1910 handbook.
Yep.
And when you go through and flip through that, I was looking through my copy a couple nights ago. If you look at the food that they're recommending to the boys to take with them, it's all very basic. Okay, very, very basic. You know, there's 2 pounds of bacon. There's a half a dozen eggs well packed. There is powdered milk. There's coffee. There's sugar. There's beans. Not a can of, but beans. And if for those of you that don't understand, when you get a raw bag of beans, you have to let them soak overnight.
Yeah, it's slow. You got to either cook a long time or let them soak.
Yeah, best way is to just, before you turn in for the night, put them in a pot, let them soak in water, and then what that does, there's a protein in the beans, and washing them, letting them soak and wash, releases that. It's kind of a toxin, but it's not poisonous, if that makes sense. It's what gives you gas.
Yeah, once you've soaked them
Yeah.
and then rinsed them, they're a lot less gas in beans.
Yes, and you know, and these recipes, these boys are preparing. You know, they're taking bulk rice and bulk beans and bacon, and it's not bacon like we have today. It's an older style bacon that's heavily smoked that you don't have to have in a cooler.
Yeah, it doesn't require refrigeration.
Right.
I've seen people go and buy the salt-cured hams and go ahead and slice
The
them.
Virginia hams.
Just go ahead and slice pieces and wrap them up in aluminum foil and take them to the field, because they don't require anything. They're ready to go.
And if you want to get really, really nostalgic about the thing, just take the whole ham and hang it up in the middle of camp and slice off what you want.
Yeah, I've done that too. All right, guys, I know this has run on long enough. We appreciate y'all watching. And please leave any questions or comments down below, and next time we'll jump off into another topic. If you've got more questions about cooking and etc., leave them in the comments. We'll try to store them up or whatever, and etc. But next, what we're going to do for 16?
Well, I just was going to say, I've been adding to the book collection.
Right.
We might want to do a book revisit.
Okay. We'll do part of 17. We'll do a part of a book revisit.
16.
16. It's 16. Okay, well, hell, I'm already on 17. 16. We'll do we'll do a book revisit, and then it's about got cool enough that we may want to do one of these, get together and build a fire and do something like that.
Yeah, it was a wonderful 52 degrees this morning.
Oh yeah, and now it's like 85, 30-degree
That's
temperature
doable.
range. But get together on one morning, we can do it early. We'll build a fire down there at the bottom and bring out the Dutch oven. We'll do a Dutch oven cooking class or something. So
That absolutely works.
we will do something in the next one. So till next time, guys, I'm Blackie.
And Bear.
Wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.